Hi, I'm Bart Hanson. I'm the owner and lead instructor for CrushLivePoker.com. The following hand comes from our call-in show that we record at 4:45 p.m. Pacific Time every Monday. If you want to call in your hand, check out the instructions in the video description.
Hey, Bart, it's Rob. First time, long time.
How's it
Thanks for
going?
taking my call. Good, good. My hand is a 2-5 hand from Parks Casino in Bensalem, PA.
Oh, okay. Another 2-5 Parks hand. We had another caller. 2-5 Parks, 1K count, right?
I'm 625 effective. I'm covered by the villain.
Okay.
I had just got in a few hands before, so I really didn't get a good feel of the table.
Yep.
So I saw a straddle was on. I was under the gun +1. I called the straddle for 10 with the king of clubs, 10 of clubs. The cut off, hijack button also called a 10, and then the blinds called a 10 as well. I think the small blind folded. So
cut off, hijack,
blind.
button, calls. So it's like multi-way, right?
Yeah, so 6 players took the flop.
So, I mean, normally I'm not limping in with that hand. King 10 of clubs is a hand that, plus there's a straddle out there too.
Yeah, that was my first mistake. But then once this flop came down, I guess one mistake led to another. The flop came.
Well, just hold on one second.
Clubs.
So you limp in with King 10 of clubs, so it's 2-5-10 right now at 625 effective, and then it's like 5 ways, right? Cut off, hijack, button, big blind, something like that. Is that right? Something like that.
And the straddle. 6 players took it.
6 players. Okay. So what's the flop?
Flop is the ace of clubs, jack of diamonds, and the 9 of clubs.
So you flop the nut flush draw and a gut shot to a queen, and you can also turn additional equity, right? You can turn something. It's actually even better than that. I mean, when you look at the subtleties of poker, like an 8 will give you an open-ended straight draw, and a 7 will also give you a double gutter too. So it's almost like a flush draw and a gut shot sort of plus. It's like a good gut shot that can turn into other draws too here on the turn. It's interesting though, when you look at this, before you even tell me what happens, when this pot is limped around and it's super, super like multi-way like this, I wonder if I actually want to just play this hand passively. Not because, I mean, usually a tag style is good, but I feel like maybe you can like cooler somebody here in a certain situation because it's so multi-way. You've got the nut flush draw and a straight draw, and you might want to let people in the hand. I mean, that's just my first inclination. So what ends up happening here?
I've seen you say that because normally a lot of times when you made a video about a year ago about the nut advantage, sometimes I would check raise that. But then something that kind of threw me off, the big blind led out for $40, 2/3 pot.
So this is what I'm talking about here. So the big blind leads for $40, and you're next to act, right? Is that right?
Yes.
So I very well might just call here with the intention of trying to pull other people in the hand.
That's what I did.
It seems to me that like it's a limp pot. So these things are like sort of non-standard, right, in a limp pot. Could you raise here? Yes, absolutely. You could absolutely raise here. You could play this hand as a semi-bluff, try to get the big blind off of like a single pair of aces. If you raise, everybody else with one pair is going to fold behind you. Sure. I'm just wondering if there's sometimes more value in this limped sort of multi-way 2-5 game if you're overflushing someone or you're going to make a straight when somebody else calls. The only thing that I will say is the big blind's bet is a little bit large, so that might dissuade people from calling behind you with like bottom pair. I'd almost rather have the big blind like come out and bet. Well, you bet 40 into 6. I guess it's 40 into 60, right? I guess it's not that large. So I'd almost rather have him bet out like 25 and then you call. But that's sort of my thinking. So, again, I think you could raise to try to just play it, like try to get him off an ace. But I very well might call here. So you call.
I did, and then everybody but the button folded. The button called the 40 as well.
Okay, so the button overcalls. Okay.
So the turn is now the 8 of hearts.
8 of hearts. Okay.
So then the big blind who led on a flop then checks
So by the way,
took
do
the
you see
initiative.
that you pick up open ended now, right? I'm just trying to
Oh,
tell. Yeah.
I had a million. I had the whole world, so I wasn't even gonna mind someone raising me on the turn because I had so much equity. Plus the original better when he let out with not a raise pre-flop, I
Hmm.
put him on a one pair hand.
Yeah.
Like I thought he might have like an ace something, like ace seven, like nothing very big. Just an ace, just bet and see where he's at. I never played with this guy before, and I'm a regular there, so I didn't know this guy from Adam, so
Right. So
I let
the pot is like 180, and now the turn is an 8, and it's interesting because you guys probably have about 550 left. Obviously, Queen 10 comes in, which you block.
right.
Um, you could just like bet pretty big here. This is not something that usually you'll see at the lower levels, but if you bet like over the size of the pot here as an overbet, like say for example you bet, so we said the pot was what, 180. Let's say you bet $250 here. I bet you two pair isn't even going to jam on you, and you might get folds from everything here.
Okay.
And the thing is that like if you bet like 250 here and you get called, then you can just sometimes give up at the end. So you can overbet these turns with these gigantic draws and then give up, as opposed to like some people that bet like half or 2/3. I've learned that from Top Section. Bet like half or 2/3 and then like give up at the end, which is sort of like kind of bad. But betting here is definitely fine. It's just a question of sizing.
I went around like almost half the pot. I bet 80.
Yeah, I mean, the only reason to bet 80 here would be because you're going to follow it up with a bluff river, but the problem with betting 80 is that like ace 7 is probably going to check call you. So are you going to bluff the river for stacks basically? That's why I like the larger turn bet.
Well, I put the button on a draw, so I figured if he called me again, he was on and everything bricked. And if someone was afraid, like I didn't think the big blind had made like two pair or better with the 8 because there's so many draws out there. I didn't think he would check the turn with aces up, with aces and 8s there. So
Well, I mean
when he
that
did that,
could be, but I would be careful to say you put the button on a draw when you're the one that has the draw, the primary draw. Like you're the one that's got all the straight cards and the flush cards. But all right, so you bet 80.
the button calls
Yeah.
and then the big blind calls.
So they
So
both call.
The river is my gin card, the 8 of clubs.
So the pot now is 240,
420. It's 420.
420, and you have like 400 left in your stack, right? Something like that.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
have
Okay.
a little bit more than that.
Okay, so it's
Um,
ace of clubs, jack of diamonds, 9 of clubs, 8 of hearts, 8 of clubs. So you make the nut flush, the king high flush. Okay.
Correct, 150. I have about 475. So then the big blind leads out for just 125.
Okay, so you have
And I was
475.
like,
Okay, so the big blind leads for 125.
correct. So
Okay.
he leads into it, comes to me. I decide to push it to 280 just to get some value. I know that's only $155 raise for the size of the pot.
I
But
think
I
that
just
that's
wanted to
fine
call.
if you can raise fold here. So if you got 475, if you have 475 to start the river and he bets 125 and you make it like 280, if you can raise fold for another 200, where if he bet 3 bets you all in, then you can raise. If you can't raise fold, then I would just call, meaning like, are you capable? That's the question. The reason why I say that though is because that flop bet out from the blind into this multi-way field, there's a lot of two-pair hands that's out there. And I know you said, well, I don't know if he's going to check two-pair on the turn, but it seems makes sense a lot to check two-pair on the turn when Queen 10 comes in. I mean, not everybody's going to do it. So you have King 10 of clubs. So yes, you have obviously you've got the second nut flush. This guy can be very wide, which is another thing. He's not totally wide because he's not the straddle, but if he's the big blind, if he was the straddle, he could have any two, which would make it even more likely that he'd have a flush along with you, right? Because he'd have any two. Now let's just say that this guy completes with any two suited cards anyways in the big blind, one to, with the straddle to left to ask anyways, then he does have a fair amount of flushes, and I think you probably would miss out from value. Whereas if it was somebody in a tighter configuration where they're not going to have a bunch of random hands like Queen 3 suited, Queen 3 of clubs, just because they're not playing that pre-flop, here it's important to recognize who you're playing against and the pre-flop action based upon limping. So I think you probably would be leaving something on the table by not raising.
Okay.
But you have to be able to fold to a 3-bet even with these stacks like... And I'm not just saying, I mean, I told the other guy in the beginning of the show with the King Jack that I would not check raise fold when he had trips, but here I'd make this like 260 to 275 and then fold to a 3-bet. He has to have a full house if he 3-bets you. So you make it 280.
The button folds, and then it comes back to him, and he thinks about it. Then he puts me all in. So I had the nut flush there, and I called it off without even hesitating, because what it came back to was this guy had almost next to last action pre-flop, and now would he raise with, like, I mean, what an ace there, like pocket, he would raise with aces, jacks, or nines, you would think, right? All that dead money in the pot with all the limps.
Most likely. So I mean, he would, you're not going to, he's not going to have pocket aces or pocket jacks. You're right. He might have nines, but let's say even if he doesn't have nines, right? So you're right about that. So what does that sort of leave?
So I mean, when he raised me in, so I thought, well, okay, then what's the full house that he could have? Aces and eights, because he would bet the flop into all these people with an ace, and then check a draw heavy board on the turn when he makes two pair. That didn't make sense to me either. So I thought then that weighted my thinking more towards flushes than anything else, and he was just calling it off just because he had a big stack, and it was a Saturday night. I don't know. I came to the game late. So
I don't know how often a guy's going to bet 3-bet. I mean, you do make a point about the combinations of it's going to be ace-8 or a hand like nines, because he probably shouldn't be leading. He led on the flop, but I mean, even still, like, I still think it's like, I just don't see somebody bet 3-betting all in here without a full house. The distribution of when looking back at the board, you're right. The distribution of cards is quite interesting, but usually when someone's going to bet 3-bet all in here, it's going to be a boat when you have the nut flush.
I heard your voice in my head when it happened, I swear, but I had the nut flush. It was only 200 into a pot of almost 11. So I was thinking I only had to be right here. What was that? 1 out of 5 times to be profitable.
Right.
And then I just couldn't put him on a full house other than aces and eights. And then into two people who were obviously on draws, I didn't see him checking aces and eights on the turn. So I called it off, and the guy just turned over pocket nines. I mean, what are you going to do? But I just couldn't see that. I just couldn't see all that dead money. I mean, I prayed for pocket nines and a straddle with all that limp.
I mean, that's true. I mean, sometimes you put yourself in your opponent's position, and it's not, sometimes it's just, you overthink it because you wouldn't do that in a particular scenario. But, how many combos of ace-8 are there? There's, 6 combos of ace-8, and I don't know if sometimes they'll bet, sometimes they'll check, but in general, I would probably set this up for a raise fold. But the distribution of cards make it interesting based upon the donk lead, looking back at it. But thanks for the call.
Can I have one more question? I'm sorry.
I got 3 other calls real quick.
At what amount of heavy stack would I not, like, I only called even though I didn't feel good because there was only 2 more hundreds. Like, say I had like 1,000 that I can use. That's the, like, 200 is like the max I can call that.
Well, dude, I was telling you that I was going to fold for 200. So,
okay.
Anyways, thanks for the call.
I appreciate it.
Hey guys, if you like what you've seen here, please click on the subscribe button and you'll get notified every time we put up a new video. And if you want to check out crushlivepoker.com for the first month free, use the code YTA200. Click on the link right there.